mahdollisimman pian. Soitit oikeushallinnon vaihteeseen. Kaikki asiakaspalvelijamme ovat tällä hetkellä varattuja. Palvelemme sinua mahdollisimman pian. Kaikki asiakaspalvelijamme ovat tällä hetkellä varattuja. Soitit oikeushallinnon vaihteeseen. Kaikki asiakaspalvelijamme ovat tällä hetkellä varattuja. Palvelemme sinua mahdollisimman pian. Syyttäjälaitos Vaide.
Terve, yes. I'm still on hold.
Yes. She doesn't answer right now. Can you call again later or?
No, I'll just stay on hold forever.
She's at the office, but
Sure, I'll just stay on hold. I have to go to a meeting later, but I can stay on hold now all morning.
yes. You want to leave a message to her or?
But I would rather stay. I would rather stay on hold, but I can phone back in like half an hour. But I'll leave a message. I'll leave a message with you. Just a minute. I'll leave a message with you.
Thinking because she doesn't answer.
Sure, but I'll leave a
Again or?
I'll leave a message with you and then phone back in like an hour, or then she can phone me.
Okay.
But please the situation, right, is weaponized bureaucracy, basically, like trying to come up with rules, right, to not investigate my case, and these like it works on somebody.
If you want to, yes, one moment. This is switchboard now. So
Yeah, I don't know. You
if
say,
talk to someone, I can connect you to customer service.
well, okay, connect me to customer service. I don't know. You said I wanted to leave a message.
Yes, you can leave it there. I connect you.
Okay.
Olette pidossa. Olkaa hyvä, odottakaa sulkematta puhelinta. Var god dröj utan att avbryta samtalet. You are on hold. Please wait. Valtakunnan syyttäjän toimisto, Sarja.
Terve. Puhutko englantia?
Yes, little.
Yes. I was trying. Well, the switchboard operator recommended to connect with you so that I can give a message to you to give to Lena Metzapelto, who I talked to yesterday, and she said she would phone me back in 10 minutes. She took my case numbers, and then she said she takes her 10 minutes to read them, and then she'll phone me back. And then she didn't phone me back. Just
Excuse me.
so like like the I would like to just tell you guys the situation, because like no expert I've talked to like says, oh, you should work with the prosecutors for crime to be investigated. They all say every just a minute, every expert says just go public. That's the only way.
Can you tell your name?
You can tell my name, Eric Wizens. I can give you my case numbers.
No, because I can't go
Yeah,
with your case number anywhere.
yeah, but I'm telling you the situation. You don't have to look into my. This is not about my case. It's about the situation, right? That you
Well,
can.
it doesn't go like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. No. But I'm saying like the consequences. You can obviously at least get like that switchboard operator. The switchboard operator connected me to you, so I could give you a message for you to give to Lena. This is what the switchboard operator recommended doing. And I'm certainly you can listen. If you can't do anything, if you can't look up anything about my case and so on, you can certainly at least
No, I
listen.
can't.
Then this is
Sorry,
just
I can't.
this is weaponized bureaucracy, making up crazy bureaucratic rules, right? So that my case does not get investigated, right? Like, and all of this is recorded. Like the prosecutor's office is now recorded,
Hey, hey,
contradicting itself,
I
lying to
Inspector,
me.
Inspector
Yeah,
told
but that
told
not,
you.
pardon,
So
Lena.
it's not.
But Tarmo said he's not the investigator. He's only going to choose who the investigator is. If he chose himself, and this is all recorded, if he chose himself, that's a serious problem. You can't choose yourself as an investigator. Then he tells me to write a letter saying what I want, and now he lies to me saying that he asked me to do something else. But even if I didn't do what he said, why doesn't he just email me like, oh, that's not what I asked to do this, and like, why doesn't he just email me additional instructions? He clearly has time to read my email, so if it didn't satisfy his request, which it did, and I've recorded him what he requested, I did exactly what he requested. Then he says I didn't do what now he says I didn't do what he requested, and therefore he didn't do his job. Like, then he says I asked, do I have this and that right? He says yes, but then refuses. Then I'm like, well, how does it make sense that those rights aren't respected? And then he just doesn't answer the question, right? Like, do I have a right to report crime in any police station in Finland? Tarmo says yes. I'm like, well, I reported a whole list of crimes in Helsinki police station, right? And then I get a blank piece of paper. I'm told only a prosecutor can go through the claims with me, and I'll get a call by an investigator prosecutor to go through all the claims, not just against police officers, but against everybody else. Because my own personal issues, my own personal interest has nothing to do with the police officers. It has to do with the cases the police officers refuse to investigate. And the Tikkurila police officers, I literally saw them click on the button to reopen my cases. So, like, people are messing with the bureaucratic system, changing documents, right? Like a police officer phones me to tell me she's doing the pre-investigation that I've been suspected for the
No, I
crime.
don't think so.
Yeah,
No.
then I get a document. I get a document saying no investigation was ever opened. In the accusation against me, right? So these are like, I get phoned, and then this police officer then emails me that saying she'll send, like, there's an email from this police officer saying she'll send me times to come in for questioning. How is that possible if there's no investigation started? So your computer systems can be changed. Like, this is one thing that had confused me. I thought that a police computer systems would be non, like, only.
Actually, it is so that I don't have access.
Yeah, but nobody
So
nobody does. Nobody does. And Tanmo starts saying he doesn't have jurisdiction. Like, whenever he doesn't want to talk about something, he says, "Oh, it's not my jurisdiction." Well, who does have jurisdiction? Like, this is the National Prosecutor's Office, and you don't have jurisdiction to answer basic questions or look into basic documentation. And if my basic claim against police, yeah, but you can talk, but nobody does. And Tarmo now, yeah, but you can give my message to Lena. I'll phone back anyways. But it's the switchboard operator that said maybe leave your message with customer service, and then that's what this is the switchboard operator's idea. I was just trying to connect to Lena, who I talked to yesterday. She said she was going to phone back in 10 minutes. She's like, she took my case numbers, and then she says she's going to phone me back in 10 minutes. Now, if there's some reason she can't phone me back, well, she can at least phone me to tell me the reason. Right, but it's the state of things is basically weaponized bureaucracy. That bureaucrats, police, and so on, they can break the law and no one can fix it. That's basically how things are. That's basically the reasoning here. Is like, okay, yeah, people can break the law, people can disrespect your rights. You have those rights, but nothing can be done about it. Well, how are they rights if nothing can be done about it? Like if I have a right to report crime in a police station in Finland, then that's my right. And if police don't ever phone me, well, and it's not the police. They tell me the police can't handle this case because it involves claims against police, and I have to go through everything with prosecutors. Right now, Tarmo is saying that everything else is not his jurisdiction, but it's all part of the same case. And the whole point of a blank piece of paper is that it's secret, from police if there's claims involved against police officers. The whole case is secret and all the evidence is mixed up. So Tarmo's saying, this is not his jurisdiction or whatever. It's weaponized bureaucracy for the purposes of a cover-up. So and then he tells me he can't investigate. He's just going to choose who the investigator is. And he's recorded saying this. Then why is there not a new case number? Right? All of these claims relate to my first case that has a case number, that has a blank piece of paper associated with it. So why is there a new case number? There's no reason there be a new case number. Like, I have a case that the police say an investigator, which can only be a prosecutor, is going to phone me to go through the evidence and evaluate the claims. That never happens. But that's still the same case. Right? Then the corruption is so easy to prove, because then then I get an email from a Tampere police lawyer, right, saying I've complained about someone I didn't have the name of. The police officer that phones me to tell me I have a right to tell me I'm suspected of a crime, and I have a right to refuse closing the investigation, which is a right I exercise. She then 3 days later tells me she talked to her superior, and they're not going to let me refuse closing the investigation. Not because of any law or whatever, or not because it's not my right, just because it's never been done before. And they put this in email, but I don't have the guy's name. She just says she talked to her superior. So it's in email, aggravated fraud by her superior, but I don't know his name. I didn't report his name in Helsinki. So how does it even go back? And then the Helsinki police agree with me that if I have claims against Tampere police, I shouldn't have to deal with them. Right? Tampere police shouldn't be investigating themselves. So how does it even go back to Tampere? And how do they even know to package things like a quote unquote complaint about a decision from this police officer's superior? I don't mention his name, and the whole case is a blank piece of paper. Like, why do police have any information about it at all? So it's the immediate breakdown of the protocol of keeping claims against police secret, so they can't change evidence or kill me. Right? That's the whole point of the secrecy, and that's the whole point of prosecutors investigating police. That police don't investigate themselves and find that they don't have done no wrongdoing. And this corruption is so easy to prove. It's all in email. Right? And that the case, and I don't care, my claims against police, right? They don't affect me personally. Right? What affects me personally are the people that have done crimes against me, that I then reported to police, and then police covered up to help their friends launder money, or just because that's what they do, or they're just incompetent or whatever. I don't care. I don't care why the police never investigated my cases. I don't care why they reopened the cases. Tikkurila police chief reopened the cases himself because I had new evidence, because I rejoined the board and I have a shit ton of new evidence. He clicks, I see him, they click, he's like, they're like, oh yeah, we have new evidence, we'll reopen the case. They click on the button. But like these systems do not seem accurate. That's why I'm phoning. Whatever is that happens in these police computer systems seem that they can just be fraudulently changed. Like I'm phoned. I have an email saying I can that they're going to get the police officers. I can come in for questioning. Then I get a letter in paper saying no case was ever opened. No investigation ever started. So how's it possible to get phoned by a police officer saying she's doing the pretrial investigation and I've been suspected of a crime? So I ask for the records. What records I can have access to? I phoned the records office. They say they're going to email it to me, and I get nothing. So I can't cross-check. I can't even cross-check what is on record right now with my own documents and drafts and so on.
Who are they who says that they are going to send you email?
The documents. There's like a number, so like the documents office or whatever.
What person?
I don't know his name. It's just like I give my case, my name and my case numbers and so on, and then they say they're going to send me documents. And they never say like and if they go check into things and there's some law that okay they can't send me the documents, because I have a bunch of cases, the cases I filed, like I want it like the like from what I can see, the computer system can be changed by police, and that's serious, that is like a really serious problem. So I'm not going to, and you can put stuff, I file my cases. The cases that concern me personally are accessing my email, which every single attorney, like I've talked to over 30 attorneys about all this. Every single one, access to my email, right? Unauthorized access to my email is a crime. And then the follow-up question, do you have evidence? I have the logs because I renegotiated access to my email. It's a Gmail, it's run by Gmail. So anyways, these are the things that personally concern me. I put them in the computer system with the evidence a year ago. And like, what else do you want as prosecutors than the logs of unauthorized access to someone's email, correspondence interception, unauthorized access to a computer system, secrets violation? My professional email, I'm chair and CEO of a company. Like one of the emails that was specifically read, was an email with an ambassador. The Finnish ambassador to Iceland. Like, does Finnish government have just zero respect for the law and the secrecy of its own ambassadors? Right? Like, that's like a serious crime, reading my email, right? Shutting off my email to access it to look for dirt. Because like they shut off my email and access it in the context that they're accusing me of NDA violations, which I then explain aren't NDA violations. Their accusations will never work because I spoke with people under NDA. So how's that an NDA violation? And then they're like, oh, okay, they stop arguing that. And then they shut off my email. The only reason to shut off my email, A, is to see what I've been up to, see what I've told to the auditor, see what I've told to other attorneys or whatever, and see if they can find other NDA breaches. And this is and they specifically click because like the emails I didn't have access. I didn't have access to my email for like a month. So there's a bunch of emails I didn't even have access to. I could not have possibly opened. And I get re-access to my email, and the one email that's opened is the only one that you would click on if you're searching through my email, which is an email from an ambassador. Right? Like, and this going public. That the police don't even care about the privacy, like the security of emails of their own ambassadors, of Finland's own ambassadors, right? It is just not credible. And now Tarmo's saying that this is not in his jurisdiction. All of the crimes that the police didn't investigate. Closed, right? They closed my investigation by talking to an attorney who's not even my attorney, who has no power of attorney. Like, these are the most fundamental, sacred aspects of the law. Power of attorney. Like, they talk to an attorney who I have one meeting with, and he tells me he's not representing me. Okay, whatever. Fine, attorney doesn't have to represent me. He says he's going to give a proposal. Obviously, if I don't accept his proposal, he's not going to represent me, which is fine. I go get to another attorney. Then the police phone him and get him to represent me, to shut down the cases, to tell them, they manipulate him into telling them that it's in my interest that the cases be closed. Even though I'm emailing these police officers saying I want to exercise my right that the investigation into me not be closed. Much like obviously not to mention the investigations I started, the claims I started. Like these are the most basic fundamental aspects of the law. And as a citizen, if attorneys can misrepresent me to police without even a power of attorney, much less approval, right? I'm literally at the same time writing messages that I want to exercise my right to that the investigation into me not be closed, and I want to confess. Like they start an investigation into me. Well, you can't if you're dealing with somebody who knows that confessing to a fake investigation fucks up the system, well, that's your problem. That's not my problem. I have a right to confess. They say I've been suspected of a crime, that there's reasonable evidence that I've been suspected of a crime, and they've started an investigation. Okay, well then I should be able to confess, shouldn't I? Like they say, you're been suspected of the crime of sending too many messages. Well, I do like to express my point of view. Guilty as charged. Put me away. Then they just close. I know that I have the right to refuse closing the investigation because the police officer tells me that. Senior police constable tells me your right as a suspect is you can refuse the investigation being closed, even though they want to close it now. Why? Because 3 days before I put in text to my ex-wife, which goes to the attorneys, all the attorneys involved, that I'm glad I'm being under investigation, because that's finally an opportunity to talk to police and give them my evidence about money laundering, which I've been trying to do for months. So I put that in text because I've been told for like over a month that I'm under investigation. I'm the criminal. I'm told I'm even going to jail. Right? People are intimidating me. They don't tell me why. They don't tell me what crime I've been committed. Just that I'm under investigation now. The police are investigating me, and I'm going to go to jail. So I'm intimidated and harassed by threats of going to jail for over a month. And finally, I'm like, it's not possible. I've not committed any crime. It's not possible I'm going to jail. So I'm like, I'm glad I'm being under investigation. That's finally not. That means I can talk to police finally. And I call trying to give my evidence of money laundering. I call like at least 20 numbers. I even talk to the person in charge of money laundering policy at the Justice Department, who listens to my story, agrees that it sounds like money laundering, because obviously it's like Angola, Namibia, Ghana, right? The most readiest flag countries in terms of money laundering in the world, right? And then he's like, well, I don't have an operational mandate to do anything, right? And no one does in the Justice Department. But how does the Justice Department then claim to be following the law, right? Like the civil authority, has passed laws putting certain responsibilities and so on about money laundering to the Justice Department. How do you know the Justice Department's even following the law if no one has an operational mandate for any specific, anything specific? How do you know what's happening in the world without an operational mandate of some sort? So anyways, this is all just like a weaponized bureaucracy. So that's the state of things now. Weaponized bureaucracy. Tarmo says that something's not in his jurisdiction. Like, as soon as it's inconvenient, he says, oh, that's not in my jurisdiction. Then I say, well, do I have a right to report crime in a police station in Finland or not? And he says, yeah, you do have that right. Well, then I'm like, well, that's what I did. So why isn't my right being respected? He's like, well, I don't have jurisdiction. I'm like, well, you say you have your jurisdiction is police claims. Well, if these police officers lied to me and didn't file the claims or start the process correctly, etc., well, then that's a claim against these police officers, right? Then he just ignores me, refuses to answer the question. Why? Because these police officers who filed my case in Helsinki did it correctly, a blank piece of paper. As soon as they understood I was talking about police corruption, right, they stopped listening to me. They just filed the case, gave me a blank piece of paper, said an investigator, who can only be the prosecutor, will phone me to go through the evidence and evaluate the claims. Right? So the police in Helsinki did their job. The police in Helsinki did their job, started the procedure correctly. But then how does anybody say they've investigated anything without talking to me if there's no claims recorded? If it's just a blank piece of paper. So this whole thing is, if you never talk to me, the prosecutors and police and so on can always just pretend that they've investigated something. I don't know. It's just, at some point it's just crazy. And why, so what's the message to Lena? Is everything can be sorted out now, right? If there's a serious investigation, if somebody actually serious talks to me, right, goes through the evidence, understands what happens, and so on, The prosecutors can go and settle with like 98% of the people involved, who I have no issue with. People make mistakes. If somebody makes mistakes and it was not bad intentioned, or they were manipulated by money launderers, like money launderers are insanely manipulative. I was manipulated for years. So like, I'm not going to throw the first stone in terms of being manipulated by money launderers. That's what they do. So anybody involved, right, who was just manipulated, who prosecutor, some serious investigator who gains my trust by making common sense and not contradicting themselves, looks into things and says, okay, these people, they didn't do anything, they didn't have any bad intentions, they just made maybe a mistake or whatever. I will settle everything in exchange that they cooperate with prosecutors, which 98% of people involved will immediately cooperate with prosecutors if they're phoned. They're just too afraid to come forward, and they're told NDA breaches and blah, 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 and been threatened. Right? So, but if prosecutors phone them, well, now the law is that they have to answer, right, investigative questions. And they all will. 98% of people will. And then the facts can be easily established. Because a lot of the evidence I have are what people tell me in text or email or whatever, mention what happened. Right? But it's obviously even easier. Some of the evidence is, my ex-wife texting me or emailing me or other board members or whatever about what's happened. Well, obviously it's easier to just get the emails, the direct emails and evidence. And they record all these board meetings and executive meetings and whatever. So there's all the meetings that happen, there's video recording of. So all of this evidence can be easily collected and everyone settled with, except for actual criminals. So that's option A, is some serious investigation of people who have the jurisdiction to investigate the cases. And what cases interest me are the actual crimes against me. So that's option A. Option B, I go public. And now there's no longer the option for the prosecutors to settle with anybody. If I go public, I have to prove, the more names, right, the more mistakes I can prove, right, the more names I can point at, the better for me. Right, going public is at this level of corporate. I'm a board member. My work. Yeah, but my work is my work as a board member. I'm a board member of a corporation in Switzerland. Going public, I have to win. I have to win by absolutely demolishing everyone, and I can no longer settle. If I go public, I have no longer any interest to settle anything. So I won't settle anything. I'll make my claims, all of them, against everybody. We're talking maybe 50 people. So you're going to have 50 cases. And you're not going to be able to ignore it once it's public. You're not going to be able to ignore it once it's public, because what matters is evidence. Now, prosecutors, police, and whatever, they think it's clever, I guess, to just never collect my evidence or just ignore the evidence they've already given them. But that's not clever, right? If I make serious accusations in public, right? Somebody's read my email. What do normal people, the business community, the legal community, etc.? What's the follow-up question? Can you prove it? Can you prove it? That's all that matters. So if I can prove it, if when I say they've illegally accessed my email and I have the logs, that's called proof. People don't go further than that. People, you can, and people can as far as I can tell, the only strategy is just character assassination. Call me mentally ill, whatever. I don't know, but sure. But even if I'm mentally ill, I still have rights, and I still have right to my privacy. I don't see why, if I'm mentally ill, even if that's true, that you can that's a license to commit crimes against me, right? So the whole character assassination thing, that's the only defense people have offered, is I'm mentally ill, or I was upset that I was fired. Yeah, no, but it's not an open case. It's not an open case. It's not an open case about what matters to me. It's not an open case of what matters to me. I reported crime in February in person in a police station in Finland, not only against police, against a long list of other individuals. The crimes that actually matter to me in terms of being fixed. So I have no personal incentive, right? If it's just if you guys get rid of my cases that matter to me, that affect my life personally, then I'm not going to wait for you guys to investigate police or whatever. I'll just go public. Like the cases against police, they don't matter to me personally. That's an institutional problem. It's a problem for society. It's not a problem for me personally, especially because I'm in Finland and I feel safe with the Swiss police around. So it's not a personal problem to me. It's not in my personal interest to wait for only cases against police. The cases that affect me, the crimes that affect me personally, were by other people, the auditor, attorneys. The company attorney threatens me, right? With bullshit, right? It's like multiple levels of fraud. A company attorney who obviously knows I own 51% of the company because I explain why I own 51% of the company.
You don't have any open case here. I can't continue.
The Tikkurila police, like this is exactly the problem. People can do corruption. Like the Tikkurila police said they reopened my case. So why isn't an investigator that my case is from last year?
You have to get your case here.
Yeah, but if people like that, this is the problem. People can do corruption in your system, in your world. People can do corruption and nobody can fix it. But that's not a credible position for the prosecutor's office, right? The Tikkurila police, I literally witnessed them click on say, yes, you have new evidence. We reopen the cases. My case is from last year, and they click on the button. Those cases, like of accessing my email, of extorting me, the things that matter to me, of fraudulently changing my the share ownership, things that matter to me that affect my life. They say they've reopened the cases. There's new evidence. So those cases should be open. Prosecutors should be able to look at them. But it was reopened. I saw them click on the button, the reopen case button. Right? And then suddenly it just disappears again. So the situation is that like weaponized like rule obsession, basically. Like there's no law that says you can tolerate corruption from the police and from your own institution. Right? Laws give you responsibilities. There's no law. You're not going to find. When this goes public. Like you're not going to find a law that actually allows the prosecutor's office to tolerate corruption when they see it. There's no law. Right? Like the police. Like I witness the police reopening my case, then they violently throw me out because they refuse to file my new claims against the police officers in Tampere, who never investigated the case in the first place, and then fraudulently talked to an attorney who's has no power of attorney to close my cases on the basis there's no law breaking. Just they say it's not in my interest that these cases go forward, because that's the argument from the other attorneys. The attorneys helping to launder money is that it's in my interest to sign a severance package. They offer me €1 million. So from their point of view, it's in my interest to sign a severance package and this all goes away. And that's what they tell the police and the prosecutors in Finland, in Tampere. But it's not in my interest to help money laundering. Because imagine if I did what the attorneys helping to launder money and the police helping to launder money. Imagine if I did what they told me to do. I sign a deal, right, that I know to be I'm taking money to shut up about money laundering. And then the case blows up, and then the money laundering scandal blows up anyways, because these people are stupid and whatever. The Swiss or the Norwegians or the Swedes, right, start investigation and it becomes a serious investigation, etc., etc. Well, then a few years later, maybe I'm on the end of an investigation. And the facts would be I took a bribe to shut up about money laundering. I know my responsibility is to report money laundering if I see reasonable suspicion. I'm offered a bribe. I'm told this is in my interest to take the bribe, and therefore, what is that? Well, that's me participating in money laundering, right? And if the police suddenly there's a serious investigation and the law suddenly matters and rules suddenly matter and so on, and the law is suddenly like a serious thing and so on, right? Well, now I'm the subject of investigation of money laundering. And there wouldn't be all this bullshit then, right? It would be a serious investigation, evidence would be collected, my involvement, what did I know, etc., as CEO of a firm now implicated in money laundering, so on, all that would be taken seriously. And it wouldn't be good for me that I took a bribe to shut up, knowingly took a bribe to shut up about money laundering, right? And then you prosecutors would be like, wow, well, how can you drop claims against money laundering? Those are not claims you can drop. You can't just deal your responsibilities to chairman of the board and take a bribe to shut up about money laundering, right? That's what would happen. It's not in my interest. So the police, yeah, I don't know. This is recorded. You're not credible. Tarmo is not credible. He lies to me. He then says he's been trying to contact me. That's not true. There's no email from Tarmo. There's no missed call from Tarmo. Tarmo says he's been trying to contact me. Then I'm difficult to get a hold of. That's not true. Plus I've been phoning. Like I phoned last week. I phone every day. Right? Tarmo Tarnen. Like this is the problem. He says he's not investigating. He's only going to choose who the investigator is, and this is recorded. Right? He's on record saying, yes, I have a right to report crime in a police station in Finland, but he can't do anything about that. Well, is it a right or is it not a right? Right? What's a right that law enforcement can't do anything about? The prosecutors can't do anything. That's called not a right. Like either I have the right and then that right should be respected in a proactive way, or then it's not a right. But then stop telling people they have a right to report crime in any police station in Finland. Right? And then Tarmo says, I didn't do what he says. I did exactly what he said. He said to write him a letter asking what I want. What I want is for the procedures that the police tell me are the procedures are followed. Or then explain how the police lied to me.
Did you say that you have already sent a letter?
Yeah, I sent a letter explaining what I want. The police, I'm told things have to go in a certain procedure. I'm told by police there's a procedure. The procedure is explained to me. So either that procedure happens, and the procedure is they file a case with a blank piece of paper because only a prosecutor can evaluate the claims by talking to me and getting the evidence. That they can't collect the evidence. I'm willing to give my evidence to police. I'm in Helsinki with the evidence, all the evidence printed out with the people, the names of the people I have claims against, and the claims, the laws I claim to have been broken, etc. I have everything. They say they can't collect the evidence. They say they can't evaluate the claims, that a prosecutor will phone me. They say that Pardon? What?
You can't really wait that he could show.
No, but then if Tarmo did his job in a sensical way, I wouldn't have a problem. But then he phones me and lies to me. It's not possible that a prosecutor is investigating my case and lies to me. There has to be some sort of basic trust, right? Between the state, right, and citizens, a basic social contract. And if you start lying to me, that is simply not tolerable. And he says he's not investigating. He says he's not the investigator. He's just been assigned to the case, and he'll choose who the investigator is. Well, once you say that, you cannot possibly choose yourself as the investigator. Then he says, write a letter saying what I want. That I've written many letters, and it's confusing to him, and it's hard to read or whatever. Like, is that really true? Prosecutors don't know how to read. Right, I'm like that, anyways, whatever. But then I do what he says. I write a letter saying what I want. And I want either the procedures to be followed, the procedures that I'm told are the procedures. Those are to be followed, right? I'm said this is one event, and the next event will be that. And that event never happens. So either that event should happen, or then it should be explained that the police who explained to me the procedure, right, of how claims against police are handled were wrong. Right, but Tarmo doesn't want to do that either. He doesn't want to say that the police in Helsinki lied to me and got it wrong, because obviously they didn't. But he wants to stay in this fiction that the procedure that police in Helsinki explained to me doesn't have to be followed. So this is just a contradiction. Like either Tarmo is correct, or then the police in Helsinki are correct. But there cannot be contradictions. And like you prosecutors, think of things from a citizen's point of view, right? If I was on the stand and you prosecutors questioning me about a crime, I've been accused of a crime and whatever, right? Is me contradicting myself a good thing? Would you guys be like, oh yeah, of course you can contradict yourself. That's how things work. You can contradict yourself as much as possible. Or would contradicting myself be a bad thing? So think of it from a citizen's point of view when they hear contradictions from the prosecutor's office. And like a few weeks ago, right? The prosecutor's office were telling me that my claim, like my case from February, right? That is just a blank piece of paper, right? and a case number and a blank piece of paper. It doesn't have my name, doesn't have who I'm accusing of what, doesn't have the claims, doesn't have the evidence, doesn't have anything. Just a blank piece of paper with a number and the name of the police officer that filed the claims, right? That this case was being handled by Helsinki police. Right, and then I after and they can't do anything, whatever. That your office tells me this, and then only when I read your own website to you. No. This wasn't a secretary. These were prosecutors. These were prosecutors.
I can't help you right now.
Well, no, I'm not asking you to help me. I'm asking you to talk to Lena and ask her what decision she wants to make. Either that there's a serious investigation, that somebody actually phones me wanting to understand what's gone on, right? And I know what a serious investigation looks like, because when I've reported the auditor. Like, listen, just a minute, listen to this. I've reported the auditor to the trade registry, who has the mandate to supervise auditors. Well, and I talked to the auditor of auditors, a guy Vesa something, right? What does a serious investigation look like? Well, one of the first things he says is, now that we've heard these serious accusations, we have to investigate them. That's one of the first things he says. After I explain like the basics of the case, then he listens to me for 2.5 hours and asks basic common sense questions. Right? Very polite conversation. Right? Like I say, we can talk later or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be now. Right? He's like, no, I want to, like, this is serious, so I want to understand what happens. And he asks all the questions he has. Then he asks me to send him the evidence that I've been talking about. That's called, a credible and good faith investigation. The investigator, the person responsible, hears serious accusations that are so serious they cannot be ignored. Right? That's the key phrase. Now that we've heard these serious accusations, we have to investigate them. Right? So that's what a serious investigation looks like. And I've sent my evidence to the trade registry and so on. And I've not sent them 50 emails or phoned them 100 times, because they've made common sense. And I assume they're doing their job. They asked for evidence. I sent them the evidence they asked for. Right? And there's nothing to complain about. If it takes time, it takes time. The problem, what is not a serious investigation, is never even phoning me to take the time to go through the case and I try to understand the events. And never saying the magical phrase, these are serious accusations, right? And they can't be ignored. Now that we've heard the serious accusations, we have to investigate them. Right, and I go into Helsinki. I accuse the police, the Tikkurila police, who violently kicked me out of their station rather than respect my right to file claims, which I have a right, which I've been told by many sources, I have a right to file criminal claims in any police station in Finland. They violently kicked me out, defrauding me of my right to file claims. That's like they commit a crime. They can't. It's not. And police love telling you, oh, they don't evaluate claims, they don't evaluate crimes or whatever. An investigator will. An investigator will phone you. All they do is file the case, right? So how is it possible that police refuse to file the claims I'm asking to file and violently kick me out of their police station? It's not legally possible. It's committing a serious crime. And this is the police chief who listened to me for an hour and a half and agreed. This is the police chief who... Is it enough? Is it enough? You really think once this is on YouTube that you sound credible, that the prosecutor's office sounds credible? Like dozens of these conversations? You really think, you're the idea that...
I'm not the right person.
Well, who is? Who is? Well, they have one day. They have one day to phone me back. Because nobody is the right person. Nobody has the operational mandate. Nobody can do anything. The law doesn't matter. The law, that's what I hear. That's what that sounds like from a normal citizen's point of view. That's what it sounds like. The law doesn't matter to the prosecutors. Well, do you really want that reputation? Do you really want that reputation? That the prosecutors of Finland view the law as a fucking joke. Do you really want that reputation?
Yes, I
Do you really think you sound credible? Do you really think you sound credible? And you talk to Lena. Does she want that she's on record. She's recorded saying she'll phone me back in 10 minutes. Why doesn't she do that? Do you really want it going public and all of these contradictions recorded.
You're saying that I will find another person to continue this.
I'm just saying, if you want it, if you want things to be resolved, you have now a short amount of time. Like you have now exceeded my patience. I've been patient. I go to the police station in February. I wait for a call. I don't get a call. I'm told the prosecutor's going to call you. I don't get a call. Then I call you guys. A new thing is started. I'm told, write a letter telling you what you want. That's what I do. I don't get any follow-up email. I don't get it. He says I didn't do what he said. Well, why doesn't he's read my email. Why doesn't he email me back saying, oh, this is not exactly what I wanted?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not credible. Right? And like at some point, you have on the Justice Department website, there's a page called Structural Corruption, which explains exactly the kind of corruption that's happening here.
Yes.
Favoritism, it's weaponized bureaucracy. Like basically weaponized bureaucracy.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, goodbye.
Yeah.